start by really thanking Janet Rose, who I think many of us here know, and know Janet's enormous feeling and empathy for so many struggles and people and issues. Now, the fascinating thing about science fiction is that it enables you to envision the world that you want to see, and maybe even think through with analogies and through fantasies how we get there. And our hopes can be projected into another galaxy or another dimension. It kind of gives us space. So I really do want to thank Janet for a very wonderful book. Sometimes science fiction also enables us to express our fears of the future and our hopes. It can be a very political medium. Now, what caught my fascination with the way in which Janet Rose described not just another galaxy, but she described another form of energy. A form of energy that holds enormous power to transform the future and connect us in much deeper ways. The kind of energy that I think many of us here already believes has great power. And that is empathy. Being able to tune into and feel the pain and the joy of others and to organize collectively. We know it as human solidarity. It's a determination to connect with others in genuine, non-exploitative ways, to link together common interests. That's empathy also. And that's empath power in Beyond the Horse's Eye. Beyond the Horse's Eye describes how empath power can be channeled to move across galaxies and time and species. And for us, in this still primitive time of human consciousness, if you're part of the fight for change, you understand the power of human solidarity. So it really is a fantasy to think how empathy can be channeled into an energy force, right? We know the power and the energy of collective action. We also know the collective passion for change can be hijacked by those who want to maintain their own domination. And the corporate media is constantly seeking to give shape to the greatest fears and seize those fears to control us and to stop collective action. And that's also part of what Beyond the Horse's Eye is about. That's what demonization is all about. It feeds on the fear that we have a terrible enemy out there, an enemy that must be destroyed, and so let's not think about any of the problems right here. There's also all manners of new commodities with bells and whistles and baubles to distract us. So energy, even collective energy, can be turned around and fears can take shape. Now, another thing that really came to me in reading this book, the ability to feel pain and the need of others to connect. In this capitalist society, that is what is pruned, what's ruthlessly trimmed out of us at a very young age. For survival, children are taught to fear all strangers, the unknown, the unusual. Socializing a child is really teaching fear and caution and who to talk to and who to love and who to ignore. What thoughts to allow, what identity, what gender expression. Remember the song, "We Have to Be Taught to Hate"? It's true. We have to be taught to hate. And that leaves us as stunted and distorted beings. There are facilities and innate abilities that are literally cauterized out of us at a very young age. And at this stage of human history, what communicates is the howl against an outrage, an injustice, a great crime resonates across the globe. We can't look too directly at the enormous levels of pain and injustice in the world we live in now, the sheer waste of human potential. For survival, I think every one of us needs to develop filters to kind of look at things sideways, or you would lose your sanity. Many people, especially the most sensitive, do lose their sanity, lose their ability to cope because the contradictions and the pain is so enormous. And so they get locked away, or they get drugged. We're intelligent beings, but most of our brains and our abilities in this rather primitive stage of human development is not yet tested or used or encouraged. And so that's what I found very, very interesting in Beyond the Horse's Eye. It's really grappling with a lot of this. Now, for those of us who are fortunate enough to have a pet or an animal companion, we become aware of levels of consciousness or communication that we're not yet tuned into. And so we become aware that there are languages we haven't yet learned to speak. So it's always worth thinking about what else we might be capable of. So this book is really for all of us who are confident that humans will, at a later time, have skills, have intuitions, have capabilities that are not yet conceived of. And maybe we'll have far greater capacity to understand or communicate with other species, but certainly we'll have the capacity to communicate with our own species. And I'm glad that Janet had the confidence to self-publish and not be defined by the unfree capitalist book market, because her book grapples with a lot of themes that aren't too popular out there. It plays with and it teases us to think about how to get from here to a new world. And the one thing that she really raises very strongly is how to get from here to a new world is struggle. It takes struggle. It takes political struggle by those who are able to step beyond their own pain. And it's where people find each other and find themselves in the struggle for change, because you have to step beyond yourself and everything beyond everything you've been taught. Now, most of this book takes place during a time of big changes, when the energy is raw and just pulsating with potential and collective determination. It takes place in the 1960s, a very revolutionary time when there were big breakthroughs and in big ways, people linking up with each other, when there was collective energy that was organized to push back old forms of oppression, of segregation, of racism, and also to push back new attempts to dominate us. It's young revolutionaries who so often have enormous power and are able to make big breakthroughs. That power sort of flares out of them. So if you believe in the power of human solidarity, in the power of empath in this age, then you're going to want to read Beyond the Horse's Eye, because it's a book for everyone who truly believes that another world is possible and needed. And thank you very much, Janet Rose.